Okay, so to do fuel injectors on a bk2 V6 3.8, I think it's 2013 to 2016, you're going to need a couple of ratchets. Got a long one, short one, a 10 mil, a 13 mil, extensions. You're going to need some pliers. You need a number 5 and a number 6 Allen key, and also a number 6 in like the little Allen key bits, hex bits. That's the way I'm doing it. So first thing we're gonna do is we gotta remove the manifold like with other jobs. So we need to unclip the airbox on all 4 connectors. We need to disconnect the MAF sensor from the intake manifold itself. Oh, and before you start this job, you probably have your plastic cover on. Pull the plastic cover off, it just pops off. So once you've got that cover off, you can see all of this. Then, like I said, undo your airbox clips, push it to the side, undo this worm clamp here that connects to your throttle body and disconnect it. Disconnect the MAF sensor, use pliers to get the little hose clamp that's here that goes to your air intake, and make sure the hose clamp slides down here so it doesn't fall and this is loose. I don't like to take the intake manifold completely off because you don't have to, so other people are going to tell you to disconnect more stuff back there, but we're not going to do that. Well, I've got it propped up with an extension just right there on the intake manifold, and I've got it going into one of the portholes there up there. Next thing, to get this intake manifold off, it's got the 13 millimeters here going around the perimeter. It's I believe it's 6, and then it's got the 2 number 5 Allen key bolts here, and then this plastic harness clips to these 2 bolts, which is they're 10 millimeters for the plastic harness. You'll undo that. Once you've done all that, you take off your intake manifold. If you have a riser installed like me, put it to the side with the gasket somewhere clean. Then you get to this secondary bottom piece of the intake manifold. So it's kind of like a 2-piece manifold. It's got this one and it's got the one below it. And this one below it is what takes the 6 millimeter Allen key. And it's got 4 6 millimeter Allen key bolts there. And it's got another 4 under the foam. You'll have to move your foam, you know, but it's got another 4 there. And I couldn't really get an Allen. I could get an Allen key on there, but it was hard to turn. So what I'm doing is I'm getting a number 6 bit, and I'm putting it into a bit holder, and then putting it into my number 10 in my ratchet so that I can crank on it and put more torque on it that way to get that secondary intake manifold piece out. To be continued. Okay, for these other 4 6 millimeter bolts on the lower intake manifold, they are more of a pain in the ass than the passenger side. So driver side is harder. So I ended up needing to get a universal extension. You could do like a wobble socket or something like that, but it allowed me to get that one, and that one way back in there. And then this one right here up at the front is the hardest one. You're going to need a 10 millimeter bolt here to undo this little coolant pipe. And I think just with that, you can kind of move it out of the way a little bit so that you can get your socket and ratchet down in there. I started to move the clamp, but I don't think you need to do that. I think you can leave the clamp where it is. And that should be able to get that last bolt, and then you can get the lower intake manifold off. You can pull it up. Also forgot to mention that when you do go to remove this foam to expose these 4 6 millimeter bolts for the lower intake manifold, that you should put some kind of a shop towel or a cloth here to block the ports leading down in so that you don't drop any tools, or in my case I was worried about the fuzzies from this foam because it's all cracking while you're pulling it back and then proceeding to get those bolts out. And I was able to get that first one up here on the driver's side by taking off this 10 millimeter, holding this up and out of the way, and getting my ratchet down in there with my 6 millimeter bit. So now we're going to lift out the lower intake manifold. So something that was holding up from me pulling it out is that right there, that little hose clamp right there that my finger covers. Got to pull that hose clamp up, slide that hose off, and then the lower intake manifold can come off. Okay, lower intake manifold is off. Here it is. One gasket stayed stuck. The other one stayed right there. Other one popped off. You have a sound deadening sponge, whatever you want to call it, more more foam, sound deadening foam. Just pull that up, and then you can see your fuel rails and your injectors that are connected to them. So these 3 bolts are going to hold on your fuel rails, and be very careful not to drop anything. I believe these are going to be 10s. No, they're not 10s. They're not 13s, so it's either an 11 or a 12. Anyways, pop those off, and then you also need to undo these right here, and be careful because there's still going to be gas in the line. So when you unscrew this, put a rag down as you're unscrewing it, like in front of your face down here, so that if gas does spray out, it sprays up into the rag and not into your face. Once you've depressurized that, yeah, then you can, you know, do these bolts and pull these injectors out, pry the whole rail out, and swap out your injectors there. Okay, so these are actually 12s. These 3 and 3, so 6 total fuel rail bolts. And then this guy is actually a 17 and a 17. And remember to put a rag as you're loosening those. Alright, so got the nuts loosened and pushed back. You really have to pull up on these hard, like really hard, and then kind of just ever so slightly bend them up and out of the way. Just very, very slight, so that it's not wanting to go back in the hole anymore. But yeah, you're gonna really pull up on those and bend them back a little bit. And then once you get all these screws out, you do have to pry in a couple of places gently, like a little bit over here, a little bit over here. You can pop that rail out. Rail starts to come out, and it looks like it's got this connector on it, so we're gonna have to take it all completely out and then pop that connector off. The other rail doesn't look like it's got a connector. Okay, so I've got the rail pulled up out, and I kind of turned it up vertical, and that that main connector I was talking about right here, don't try to undo it. It doesn't need to be undone. I broke that little clip on the underside of it. Yep, I broke this clip trying to get it off, and it doesn't even need to come off. So now it's on there, but it's not, you know, latched on there. So, and if you flip it up, get access to the injectors, and then these guys need to be pried up. So you flick that little red tab up and out, and then you can push down on the gray tab and slide each connector off. And once you do that, take your injectors off, put your new injectors on, and put it all back together. Okay, a final note on getting the injectors off, because they're haven't been enough of a pain in the ass. These clips here, this fork wraps around the very lip, the very lip of the injector here, like that. And you just need to take a screwdriver and push it off, like towards the back. So just push that way, and maybe on the other side, and keep popping it out until you get it out. It's just kind of like a claw holding it in place. And then even then, you just need to pull the injector out hard, or pry here, pop it out, and it's really in there because of the O-ring fit. And then they finally pop out. Okay, so that was a huge pain in the ass. Here are some things I learned putting the new injectors in and getting the rails bolted all back down in again. So all the injectors use one-time use combustion seals, These black rings here, my new ones only had one ring, and the old ones had two rings, but I guess these are combustion seals or compression seals, and they're one-time use. So once you put these back into the head, don't take them back out again, otherwise you'll need to replace them, and it is a huge pain in the ass to replace them. Need a special tool and all kinds of stuff. So once you get them back into the rail, and you put grease on the top O-ring, so put grease on there, like Dow 33 or something like that. No, don't use oil. Just grease, a little bit of grease up there. Don't put any grease on the bottom black tip. And you push them up into the rail, so the rubber O-ring part goes into the rail. The bottom is going to go down into the port of the head. And so, you know, you get all those injectors in, and then this rail, the right rail has to come out first, and the left rail has to come out second because of this big bulky connectors in the way. So this one can't come out until the right side comes out. And then in reverse, what I'm saying is when you get all your injectors back in, the left rail needs to go down in and to the head first, and then the right rail goes down into the head first. I messed up and I put my right rail in, and then I couldn't get my left rail in, and then I had to take my right rail back out again. And what I did is I effectively ruined my little combustion seals because I had to pull them back out of the head, and they were already flattened and squished. So technically they need to be replaced. I'm just going to chance it and see if I can get away with it. I just went ahead and put it back in because getting new combustion seals on and getting the tool and everything and ordering new seals, huge pain in the ass. So I'm hoping that these will still seal. I'm risking it. So learn from me. When you go to put it back together, left rail first, then the right rail goes in after that. And then when you go to bolt these 6 screws back in, these 12mm bolts, do them slowly, one at a time. Do a little here, then a little there, then a little there. Same thing with this one. Start a little bit in the middle, then over there, and just keep moving around so that it goes down nice and evenly, so that those combustion seals close up nicely. The other thing is these fuel rail gas line connectors here that are 17mm. They're also a huge bitch. So I had to kind of bend them up and out of the way, like I had said earlier, and then you have to kind of bend them back a little bit, but just be very gentle, only bend them a little bit. And then you have to kind of like hold the rail down and start this hand tight and make sure that it's smooth. If it's not smooth, you don't have it, you're not perfectly straight and up and going down into it vertically down. You're just going to keep messing with it a lot until it's smooth to hand tighten. Get them started, and then get your wrench, your 17mm wrench on there, stubby short, 17mm, and snug those up.